So let's have a look at how we can debug and troubleshoot our add-on as we're building it within Squirrel to see if there's any error messages and then what the data to and from Squirrel actually looks like. So let's have a look at the code for our component that we started a minute ago. As you can see in here, we've got a number of our lifecycle hooks and lifecycle methods that we're using, and all of these are overrides. So what that means, it means they're defined in the base class, which is our Squirrel helper, and then I'm choosing to override those within my add-on. So let's have a look at the property change method here. The property change method here, if we look in the base class and scroll down to the bottom, on property change, I can see in here I've got a number of console logs and console warns. Looking in my definition of it, I've used the super command here. So what that means is it executes the contents of the base on property change method first, and then it will execute my code afterwards. So I should expect to see console logs and console warns appearing in the browser console for my add-on. So if we look in Squirrel, we don't have direct access to the browser console here, but we do have access to it for our add-on development. So if I open up a Chrome browser and navigate to the URL localhost port 8315, that will allow me to then see and select my add-on URL here. So localhost 4401, that's what our add-on is running on. So if I select that, I now have access to the browser console for my add-on. So let's see that in action then. If I just click the get JSON files here, this will basically reinitialize my add-on for me. Click that, and what we can see here is I've got child add-on initialized. So that is basically my add-on getting itself all ready. Once it's ready, it sends a handshake request through to Squirrel. This child DOM ready is basically the handshake. The child is sending a message to Squirrel to say, I am now ready to start receiving data. Squirrel responds with its init state. So this is a response back from Squirrel. So init state message received from Squirrel, and that is a copy of state, which is the word test, because that's what's in our property panel here, and hello world response is empty. It's not bound to a cell. There's nothing in that. So therefore, default state is test. Our response is empty. And as we saw in our previous video when we went through the add-on, what happens when we receive data for test, we will then invert it and then send it back. So this sending message to parent is the console to say that the add-on is now sending a message back to Squirrel. It's sending the value TSET, so the reverse of test, but because we've got nothing bound, it's going nowhere. So Squirrel's receiving it, but nothing's happening with it. So let's have a quick look then. So what happens then if I change that test? This handshake and on init state only gets fired at initialize. So either when you first put the component on the canvas, or when you go into debug, or you go into preview, then it gets the latest version of state. But at runtime, if the value changes, we need to know that, and we need the Squirrel component to know that as well. The add-on to know that as well, sorry. So I clear my console, and let's change this from test to hello there. And have a look at the property, the consoles now. We now have an on property change event which has been received. Message received. Hello world is the property, and hello there is the value. So if we have a look in our code, on property value change has been received. The property hello world data. The value is hello there, and then it will then go into this. Our method then gets called process data, which then sends this back. So this is now being sent from Squirrel, the add-on back into Squirrel as well. So using the JavaScript console, you can do an awful lot of looking under the hood, console logging out information, so you can see not just text, but you can also log out the objects as well. So you can start investigating and troubleshooting any problem, but you can also start having a look at data that's been sent to and from Squirrel. So if we look at the onset size, if I look at my console here, clear my console out, if I resize my Squirrel, child set size message received, and it's telling me now the new width 296.197. You can see that matches what's in the property panel here, 296.197 as well.